we're in a tough situation this season, right? We have 2 games left. Julian Lewis is the starter from here on out. I was trying to think about, right? We all do this thing in our head, like, how do you fix this team, right? How do we be competitive for next year, right? I hate doing the next year conversation. As early as we even did this year, right? We were talking about damage control and all these different things, right? But how do the Buffs build for next year, right? So this is one that, and again, you can almost even put like a 90-day fix on it, right? So let's do that. How would you fix this within the next 90 days, right? Because again, in college football, things move quickly. After the season end, there is one transfer portal window that is after what is it, January 2nd through January 16th. But how would you fix this thing? What would be your roadmap? What is your plan to fix this Colorado team with over the next 90 days? So what I did was just kind of made, went to the lab, right, and built all this thing, started to think about it over these past couple, probably about 4 or 5 days. And how would you fix this? So where I decided was, first things first, season ends in a couple weeks, right? We know that they're not they're not going to be bowl bound, not bowl eligible, but new staff, you're going to have to hire some new staff at certain positions. And again, this is recruiting staff, this is whatever it may be, right? Like coaching, all these different things. And again, I think you're going to see some different coordinators in place, some different position coaches, and just kind of a different philosophy would be my hope as to what needs to change, right? And the next step would be you need to identify your dogs and players that want to be here, right? Like who is it that wants to be here? Like, there's been a lot of conversation this year, right? Nonstop conversation around leadership, and this guy wasn't who we expected to. And that injury report that we have looked at this past, since the Houston game has been outrageous. And part of you even starts to wonder, are these dudes even hurt at this point, or are they now just away from the team? We've seen players' names removed actually from it, right? Like DeKalen Taylors of the world. So again, something's going on there, right? Like my what we'll hear about is that my inkling, whatever you want to call it, is they're going to be moving elsewhere, and again, just away from the team. Again, not suspended, nothing like that. Just they're away from the team at this point because they're going to be hitting that portal here in 6 weeks or so. So who are those guys, right? Retain your guys, right? Obviously, number 1, Jordan Seaton. Number 2, Julian Lewis, right? Without a left tackle and your franchise quarterback, there's not a lot you can do there. Then we start moving in, and again, not in any order now, right? London Merritt, you have to retain that dude at all costs. Alex McPherson, you have to get Amari Miller back. Him and Julian Lewis have something special there, as we have seen, right? And again, it is crazy that was not there with Caden Salter, but Amari Miller is one hell of a talent. It just sucks what happened this season with the quarterback situation, everything that took place this season. Amari Miller is one of the best receivers in the country, and just was not given that opportunity to showcase that. These last couple of weeks, yeah, sure, absolutely, right? We've seen what he could do. And again, those of us that are Colorado Buffalo fans that have followed this team for these past few years, none of us are shocked by this. But that is, they got to retain him and hope that he comes back, right? And then you have Q for 6, obviously Quanell Farrakhan. Q and Juju, those two are going to grow together. That's going to be, if not next year, the year after, just that's going to be a huge connection there, right? Quanell Farrakhan as well, those freshmen coming in with Juju. And then one that I had, right, that just kind of was not talked about a lot, but DJ McKinney, he probably should return next year. He hurt his, that's not even the right word. The draft stock has sunk. I've started to see him now for anywhere from 4th through 6th round, and he is a much better player than that. So the hope would be that he comes back next year and tries to improve his draft stock. And this season was just, I don't want to call it a wash, but that's almost what it felt like this year with some of these guys, right? Tawfiq Bayard, that dude's a dog. They got to get that dude back. BDS, right? He needs to be back. And one that I had was Jaheim Otis with a question mark. Like, what does that look like? Have a whole off season now. He's played a season. He does have one more year left. I'm curious to think, what do you guys think what they should do with Jaheim Otis? Keep him around, tell him to hit the portal. I guess I'm 50-50 on it, right? Because the talent is there, but the work ethic, right? The things that we've heard about. So we'll see. And then Joseph Williams, he has to be back again. You have that receiving core of Omarion, Q, Cornell, and JoJo. Man, that's a hell of a receiving core going into next year for Juju. And then one of the things that is pretty wild is you now are going to start seeing these dudes start to come up that Colorado has recruited. So they have to keep Carday Smith. They got to keep him, and he'll be starting next year at right tackle. Chauncey Gooden will be starting at guard next year, right? The Buffs have these dudes now that they have been developing, where you don't have to go run through the portal, right, and just try to sign every single offensive lineman to make it fit. Like, that is not where they're at anymore, right? Maybe for a few positions, but for offensive line, not the case anymore, right? They have these dudes that can fill it, that are ready to go. I shouldn't even fill in, step into those positions and be ready to go for next season. And then again, the other players who didn't live up to the expectations or live up or want to be part of the culture, let them get in the portal. Let Prime, what he said, not here, but he's like, I'm bringing my Louis, whatever it is, right? But I don't think I think they need to just let those guys get in the portal, right? And again, that's I do think what we're going to see a lot of these players hitting the portal. And then they're going to be like, oh, Colorado's this, Colorado's that. But then again, that's just going to be that outside noise, right? Us as fans are going to see this and say, well, if we could create a top 10 of players to keep, we kept all 10 of those, right? I know that's my list right there. Again, I'm sure I'm missing somebody. This was just a real quick rundown. But those are the guys that need to be kept that I can think of right now. But this is what the Buffs need to do.